recording. I mean, we can't miss the antics. We got to record those.
We already,
Where are you?
I actually just left my office and driving to the hospital. I fell asleep at my office. I didn't sleep last night. I was with my dad up all night at the hospital. I left there, took a shower, went straight to work. And then after I left work, well, I didn't leave work. After my last client, I dozed off in my office and I was like, oh, shoot, I gotta go. And I kind of got caught. And now I'm heading back to, without even being able to go home.
Oh,
Headed back to the hospital, but it's cool. I said I could not miss class tonight. I love coming to this this class. It's beautiful.
Yay!
I couldn't miss it, so I'm sorry. I'll be at the hospital in a few minutes. I'll be able to just come on, turn my camera on.
Okay.
We miss your face.
Yes, I gotta show my face. I'm glad I can see you all though. Look at Fire. Oh my gosh, girl.
On fire.
She is on fire.
Yep.
She on fire. Up in here, she burning hot. She on fire.
Them glasses. All right now.
Remember that song?
Don't look at with the shades on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the assignments. First of all, any questions, any hiccups, anything that, any impediments that came up in the process of doing the work? Fire, hit me.
Well, I I had a very hard time answering number 4. So I'm like, I asked David about it. I was like, does this even apply to me? Because I don't know. So yeah, I had no idea. I was like,
what was number 4?
Number 4 was, give me just a second. Okay. Number 4 is, what a neat, wrong page. Pardon me. Anybody else have anything while I'm looking for this so I can pull it up right quick?
You wanted number 4?
Yeah.
Is that what I heard?
Please. Yes.
Number 4 is, how do you balance your desires for submission with your other needs and responsibilities? How do you prioritize your own well-being?
So like, and I was told that, it's okay to say that I don't. Because I kind of don't. I really didn't think anything of it. I was like, I don't even know how to start to answer this question. Like, why is this real? Like, what are we doing? I don't know. So
all right, so Fire, do me a favor. Go onto you have a pencil, a notepad. Is that what you're using?
Yes. Give me just a second. Cancel. Cancel. I'm so sorry, guys.
No, take your time. Just make 4 quadrants on a piece of paper.
Okay. 4 quadrants. Okay. All right, 4 quadrants. Got it.
All right. The first one is want to. The next one is need to. And next one is have to.
We said want to, need to, and have to.
Yep.
Okay, so that's 3.
Okay,
Want
so
to,
yeah.
need to, have to.
Yeah, so give me 3 things that you have to do on a regular basis.
Eat.
Okay.
Sorry. Let's see here. I have to do. Excuse me for just a second. I decided to try to do something different, to be somewhere where Wi-Fi was 100%. But then I'm in a very echoey chamber type situation. Anyway, so let's see here. Something that I have to do. eat, sleep, and drink water or hydrate.
Okay.
You know,
That's great. That's great. So would you say
Mhm.
that's for self-care or you do that for somebody else?
I do that for me. That's self care. I thought that was just what you have to do to live. So
Yeah,
okay,
but self-care
okay,
should be about you living. I
oh,
mean, are you drinking
okay.
water out the water hose?
I'm not 6. No, that
All right.
no, not anymore. No.
So is there any medications that you have to take for you?
Yes.
Okay, so as a have to, that's taking care of yourself, right?
Okay.
What other
Mhm.
things that you have to do? Do you have to go to work?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So again, you can see that have tos are about self-care because they affect your immediate health, wealth, and well-being.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
What about
Mhm.
clean clothes?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Wash my clothes, laundry, clean the house, like shower, all that fun stuff.
Okay. So again, now when you before you go to bed, is there any rituals that you have before you go to bed, or do you just plop down? Do you have like a little tea, or do you?
Well, no. I I take a shower. I clean my face. I moisturize, and then I pretty much just lay down on the bed until my eyeballs give out. So that's pretty
Okay.
much it.
So again, you can see that those are other ways that you take care of yourself, right? So what's the problem?
Nothing. No problem here then, I guess. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So again, you can see how self care is a have to, and there are some want tos like your moisturizer. Do you just you go to 99 cent store or the 5-in-1 shampoo face stuff? Is that what you use?
No, okay, so this sounds harsh, but for the most part, I use 70% rubbing alcohol to clean my face, all the dirt
Mm-hmm.
and grime and all that stuff off, and then I moisturize with because I have childlike skin for some reason, so I use Johnson's baby lotion,
Okay.
and it works out perfectly fine for my or Dove, which is a creamier situation, but that's only for like winter.
So why don't you just use a bar of you know 99 cent soap?
Because I don't want to dry out my skin. No.
So you want to take care of your skin.
Correct.
Self care.
Okay, so I made this part that's simple way more complex than I was expecting. Okay, so thanks.
But sometimes we need people to see that it's the simple things in life that we have to do to take care of ourselves. From the food we eat, to the water we drink, we're making choices to give ourselves the best that we can have because we feel it's an absolute necessity. You don't want to just have regular sewer water. You want to have the best water that you can possibly get for yourself. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Does that make
Water,
sense
that's
to you?
gross. Absolutely. Sewer water, that's nasty. But okay.
If you're in a third world country, you'd be trying to figure out the best way to make this water clean, right? Because you need the best water
True.
human possible. So that's what I'm
Right.
saying. So sometimes it's important just to remind people that you think it's like bare necessity because you do it every day. That it's not
Mhm.
self care. It is self care, and it is important to your health, wealth, and well being.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
great.
thank you
So
for the clarification.
there you go. I just want to make sure you have that. Anybody else have anything that came up for them?
Well,
Sharice?
first, I'm glad that came up because I think I overcomplicated the answer too. Just a simple thing like, yes, you take a shower and yes, you use certain products. So I appreciate that. I struggled with number 2, which is describe a time when you felt truly submissive. What was it about this experience that made you feel this way? And my struggle with is because you have mentioned previously, don't use our existing relationship, look at something prior. And that I had trouble with that. I have an answer, but I had trouble with it.
Oh, great, because I could answer this question, but you wouldn't like it. But
I
yeah,
know.
but you came up with.
I don't know that I would agree with you.
You
Okay.
can't disagree with me. I mean, like it's your words. So, but the point is I won't become all dommy with you right here. I'll step back into the teacher role. But tell me what you did come up
Well, so what I did come up with is I said, I have truly felt submissive in the last couple of years as we work through challenges, and I remain diligent and present in the way I prioritize him and us with our happiness and goals, with the joy I feel when I contribute to his joy, comfort, and overall feeling good when I am able to inspire him, and my willingness and attempt to follow instructions. So I use specifically the last couple of years because I feel like these things were like really keeping our happiness, our goals, like our mutual well-being and individual well-being, especially in proximity to each other, like just really prioritizing those things feels like true submission for me. Whereas, well, I don't know. I'm going to complicate my answer. I'll leave it there.
Okay, so first you should define submission. How do you define submission?
I should know how to answer this. I do feel that the word prioritize comes into that. So prioritizing, so my submission is wanting to make the dominant, in this instance, you, my priority, in wanting to, because there's a joy and a care that I bring forth to you as an important person in my life. So submission for me is not just necessarily, oh, I'm going to kneel when he wants me to, but it's more like looking at why you want me to kneel, or why do I want to kneel? Because it feels good to have that experience with you. It makes you feel good. So it's more about the emotional component to it. Like there's a joy, a respect, a prioritization that's happening for me.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
No. This is great. This is great because I'm going to give you a non-PC definition of pleasure a definition of submission that a lot of people agree with, but it's politically incorrect.
Okay.
A person who derives a sense of pleasure from allowing others to use them for their pleasure.
Okay.
Right? It's like if you derive a sense of pleasure from allowing others to use you for their pleasure, this is the type of submission that most people crave. And this applies sexually, it applies academically, it applies from a business standpoint, it applies to everything. If they derive a sense of pleasure from using your accounting skills, if you derive a sense of pleasure from allowing them to use your body, if you derive a sense of pleasure from allowing others to hit, spank, strike, insults, whatever it is. It can be both negative and positive, but it is a very big chasm that most submissives struggle with. Right. And in doing so, we start looking for a higher concept. Submission is this spiritual, but we also have to look at what it is in its terrestrial form. Most people who are submissive, a lot of them are submissive in the bedroom. And almost everything is an extrapolation of the bedroom. Right. Just like I forgot who said it, everything is about sex except for sex, because sex is about power.
I forget who said that too. Question though.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like that could be the definition for bottoming, because if I'm in a bedroom context and I am bottoming, I am deriving pleasure from my top spanking me, I'm deriving pleasure from my top using my body for the sexual experience. So but I feel like submission is going to take it deeper. It's not just deriving pleasure from the other person using my body or my skills, you said accounting, for their enjoyment. Like, I feel like there's more to it. Am I misunderstanding?
I'm not saying that there's not more to it. What I'm saying is that this is the universal cause. I'll give you an example. And I think we can all understand this. If you've ever been spanked out of anger, it don't feel the same as when you're being spanked for someone's pleasure. Why? Because they're not deriving a sense of pleasure from what you're receiving.
Mm-hmm.
They're not enjoying it, and so you're not enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
But let them start enjoying it and making the sounds and caressing and kissing and getting turned on, and you feel the hardness and the erectness come out of it. You are going to go farther and deeper because it's not only a pleasurable engagement, it's something that you're turning into pleasure because they're deriving a sense of satisfaction from this exchange. Soon as they turn that off, it no longer feels good. Right? So what we can talk about is the body, the top bottoming is the body surrender. It's the body submission. Dominance is the relational submission. Right? And then when we go into this other space, it's total submission, all the peripheral stuff in addition to. Right? So it's levels. But at the end of the day, that person derives a sense of pleasure from allowing themselves to be used for the pleasure of others.
I'm still thinking that that's a great bottom definition, but
yeah, but again, it is a great bottom definition, but you can see the shadow of it when a person doesn't derive a sense of pleasure from it, because the only thing that's changed is this guy's not pleased.
So then I wouldn't call that bottoming necessarily. That would be an angry exchange or whatever we want to call it. No,
there's times where you have to discipline people, and it's like you did this thing, you didn't do it right, and so we have to spank you because that's what happened. I don't have to be mad to discipline someone.
So discipline would apply to submission, not necessarily to a bottoming situation or dynamic.
Well, again, why would you submit yourself to be disciplined? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's still submission, but it's a relational thing.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. But during bottoming, during pleasure, are you just doing it for yourself? Because there's a lot of things that I'm sure all subs do that are not pleasurable, but they do it because their partner likes it. Right. Some people, like, if they could skip kneeling, they would. If they could skip crawling, they would.
I think I am kind of saying the same thing you are. Maybe I'm just not coming across that way, because relational is a word that you just use, and that, I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
I'm saying, and then we can open up to the group and see what the group thinks. But I'm saying that submission operates on every level, but the most primal and most basic narrative is this person derives a sense of pleasure from allowing themselves to be used for the pleasure of another. And it doesn't matter. Use your skills, use your talents, use your body, use your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, use your house, use your car, whatever it is, they feel it. And this is why people are so susceptible, especially submissives, are so susceptible to being used. Because they do want to loan you their car, because it would make you happy. They do want to let you crash at their pad because it makes them happy. Right? So that's why I think it's a politically incorrect narrative, but it is underlying the foundation of everything that we're talking about. So let's open that conversation up to the group and see what everybody thinks, see if anybody has any thoughts or feelings about that. Don't speak all at the same time.
For me, I watched one of your video clips, Orpheus, and when it came to submission, or being submissive, I understood submissive to mean giving up my rights. And so, oh, you can see me now. I understood it to mean, I'm here, meaning to give up my rights. Like, it didn't matter if I enjoyed it or not. I'm just being submissive and obedient. That's how I understood submission or being submissive to me. But then you explained it like as a sub or whatever the correct term is. I don't know. It's given into my desire to want to please, which makes it seems more, it's more voluntary now. It's like, I want to please you. So I'm still within my rights because that's what I want to do. And so I
Exactly.
didn't understand that until I saw your video. And it was like, bing, and I was like, oh, wow. So
Mhm.
it's no longer seen like really to be a negative thing. And even when I thought I was being submissive, it wasn't because that's what, it was just like, whatever you want to do, just do it. Like, doesn't matter. As long as you were happy, then I'm fine.
See,
I
there's the
settled
thing.
for that.
If you're happy, I'm fine. You see what I'm saying?
So
That's
that's,
go ahead.
yep, I'm complete. That's all I have to say.
Right. And see, here's the thing. There's a difference between, and I talk about all the time, the difference between being a people pleaser and a person who derives a sense of pleasure from pleasing others is that people pleaser prioritizes other people's desires above their own because they think everyone else's desires are more important than their own.
Yes, I was functioning from that place.
You see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
people pleasing. But when you derive a sense of pleasure from pleasing others with your body, with your mind, with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your intellect, that they genuinely derive a sense of pleasure from engaging with you on multiple levels, and you see the joy on their face, you see the happiness that you're bringing to their life, it becomes this different way of being together, right? You almost feel valued. It's like, I bring joy and happiness and pleasure to this person. It's my joy to make you happy. It's selfish in some ways because I want to feel happy, and making you happy makes me happy. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
How do you feel when I say that? It seems like maybe there's some feelings or some emotions. Your voice cracked a little bit.
I would love to experience that, to really feel valued in that exchange with a partner, more so than begging for their acceptance. I mean, it would, I would assume that they are accepting me because they're engaging, but that's not always the case. Sometimes I'm available, so maybe that's why I was in a situation. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean that I was being valued because I was in that position. I want to feel it more, without seeming like I'm begging for it. Um, if that makes sense.
So it makes perfect sense. Actually, I think I have an analogy that Selena and her boss, I guess we'll call it, taught me. So I saw on Facebook Marketplace a custom motorcycle. I thought the thing was fucking gorgeous. I'm like, you should have your boss buy this bike so he could sell it in his shop. And he said, custom bikes are harder to sell than non-custom bikes. Right? When you realize that this is a very specific taste, the market, the people who can truly appreciate that customized vehicle is small. It's small. And so you might not get the amount of attention that someone who's just a basic bike. They're just basic. They like the basic stuff. They do the basic thing. Lots of people like that. You are unique, special, couture, right? You are a classic, a one of a kind. And it's going to take a while to find someone with those specific tastes. But when they do, you'll be the most unique find ever because he can't find that anywhere.
Mm.
Right? And he's going to keep going. He's like, how come these people don't feel this way? How come people don't live this way? How come people don't like this thing? he will meet you and he will value you because he won't be able to get what you provide anywhere else. Thoughts or feelings?
I didn't think that was possible, but thank you. Like my heart was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I realized I have some work to do. Um, I have some work to do. I have to see myself that way. I have to see myself as valuable, and I have to see that, you know, I am unique. Like there is something different about me from other people, and it's unique to me, to Reese, you know. And that was heartfelt. That when you say, "How does that make you feel?" Like it's like you're chipping away at stone, and it's breaking, and something is trying to come through. That's what I feel. So it's a little painful, but then it feels good. Like
Mm-hmm.
a needle hurts at first, but when you take it out, it's, you know, it's okay. But that's the way I describe it. It hurts a little bit, but it's healing. Like it's something happening inside, coming to life within myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I received that. Thank
Mm.
you.
Thank you so much. You know, as a black person to another black person, there's a thing that was invented in the continent that has been taken all over the world, but we came up with this concept first, and it's the idea that sometimes you have to re-break something in order to heal it. Right?
Yes.
Sometimes you got somebody got an arm that broke a long time ago and it didn't heal correctly. Sometimes you have to break it to heal it back the right way, right? And so sometimes when we have broken hearts, they fuse back in a way that's not beneficial to us. And sometimes we have to re-hurt it, re-break it, go through that emotional pain so that we could put it back in this mosaic pattern that is beautiful to us, right? And I
Right.
think that that's kind of what you're feeling in the moment. Any thoughts or feelings about that?
Yes, I can understand that. Even as a nurse, I've seen it, legs and arms rebroken to heal correctly. And so I understand. And yes, I would say that that is the case. But I'm willing to let it go. Like, I don't want that to be my story anymore. I want it to just heal the right way. So if I have to feel this hurt to get to a better place, to be the best version of myself, I'm willing to feel it. Um,
Mm.
I'm willing to feel that because I don't want that anymore. I'm ready. This is it.
I'm so glad to hear it. I think we all we're a group full of unique tastes. You know, we're a group full of unique perspectives, and sometimes, you know, you have to be accept that we're all in the valley of lost toys. You know, I mean? Only we can appreciate each other. You know.
Exactly.
So,
I agree.
I think I need a Valley of Lost Toys shirt. You know. So thank you so much. Does anybody else have any thoughts or feelings about what we're talking about? Anything?
I could just share that, like, I have stories that I tell people about it all the time. It's like, look, you're somebody's oasis in the desert. Like whatever desire you're carrying, you are someone's oasis. Someone isn't just, you know, like, oh, I could handle tolerating that person. For somebody, you are a dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Selena, back to you. What are your thoughts or feelings about we started this conversation, so any thoughts or feelings there coming up?
Are you sure you want to bring it back to me?
Yeah, we'll bring it back to you.
Um, well, I love what you just said, David. That's beautiful. You're someone's oasis. I love Orpheus, that sometimes you have to re-break something to heal it. And like Charisse, I was thinking, yes, sometimes with a bone that's broken, you have to re-break it to heal it. So it's a great analogy. I very much relate to everything you said, Charisse, you know, and people pleasing. And I would have these not even questions, because I just would believe that, you know, I'm whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm offering is making this person I care about happy. Why would they take advantage of that? Why would they not value that? Why would they treat me, you know, with any less respect or care or consideration or whatever it was? So, and then it was later there was like, oh, well, I guess people are kind of shitty, you know, and maybe their excuse was they've been hurt, they've been traumatized, whatever. But I needed to learn that whatever your reasons are is impacting me, is hurting me. So, you know, there needs to be that boundary and move on from there. But yeah, that's been a very recent realization. And I'm 46 now, so there's been a lot of years of taking a lot of bullshit and a lot of being taken advantage of and taken for granted. So
yeah, you're going through that process of, you're describing intent versus impact.
Look at you bringing it back around.
Okay, David Silverman.
Yeah, I just wanted to I wanted to ask a question about people pleasing. The way that I interpreted people pleasing versus submission was largely like the differences in the motivation, right? Like one really stems from our fears and insecurities and our pain, right? And you know, it doesn't come from our authentic self. It doesn't come from our hearts. It comes from that dysfunctional place. And that submission comes more from that authentic self, right? It's like, no, this truly brings me joy. I like it's not just the temporary comfort of my own neuroses, but the genuine authentic self is like, no, I love to serve in this way, and it feels good. It brings me joy. I was curious if that if anyone else in the group, or if you think like if that definition makes sense to you.
I think we're saying the same thing, because it doesn't matter why someone is prioritizing someone else's pleasure over their own. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter why someone is reducing themselves, reducing their desire, thinking their wants, needs, and desires are not as important as someone else's. It can be fear, trauma. The idea is they're thinking that this person needs it more than I do. This person, they can come up with every reason why they need to do what's important for someone else and put themselves on the back burner. All right, so we're saying the same thing in that. And then, yes, it doesn't matter why you derive a sense of pleasure from pleasing others, whether it comes from confidence, where it comes from a psychosexual narrative. It doesn't matter. Gluttony, dopamine hit. At the end of the day, it makes you happy to do the other one. It doesn't make the other person, the people pleaser, happy to do it. They just think it's a requirement. They have to do it. Some people be like, well, if I don't do this, he'll leave me. If I don't have sex with him, he'll leave me. If I don't get him off, he'll leave me. If I don't let him use my stuff, he'll leave me. You know what I mean? Like, again, people pleasing. I have to appease this person, or a negative consequence will befall.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I see that difference. Cool. Thank you. That is a perfect. That clarifies the thing I was trying to figure out how to ask.
Right. I'm going to tell you the truth. To me, I think it should be locked in. I would call it extortion. That type of behavior, unfortunately, associating, and because subconsciously, whether this person is doing it or not, it's up to the person who's going to be the beneficiary of these goods to say, you don't have to do this. You know, this is not have to. This is not a deal breaker.
Sure.
Well, if this person is not being forthright with this information, then technically, it's extortion. It's a soft extortion.
Yeah.
It's like when the mob goes like, I'm not saying anything would happen bad to you, but if you were to give me $100, maybe your shop wouldn't burn down. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm not saying, you know, and so maybe the first time you get paid because of a threat, but you keep paying. It becomes a condition of existence.
Yeah.
Right. To keep paying, whether you have it or not, whether it's putting you at financial whatever or not. It's a type of extortion. And I know a lot of guys specifically don't like that equation, but I think it's extortion.
Sure.
Okay. Got you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's each do one from our thing. So everybody had a few of them on there. So do one homework. So I'm going to ask everybody to do one, and that way we should get pretty much through it, and the rest of it we can kind of just do whatever we need to do. So, Clarice, give me number 1 on the homework.
Can I please see the questions? I don't have my book with
Oh,
me.
yeah, yeah. I'll share
I'm
them.
sorry.
It's okay.
Uh-oh, somebody getting spankings.
That
She's
wouldn't be
learning.
punishment though.
She is learning.
I might enjoy it too much. Take
Don't
away
tell
the spanking. That's the punishment.
Don't tell anybody. Damn.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Oh yes, okay, I remember now. What does submission mean to you? Oh, well, as I mentioned earlier, submission meant to me giving up my rights and just doing what someone else wants me to do
So
to
what does it
please
mean?
them. Submission now is me giving in to the desire to want to please. Voluntarily saying, this is what I want. I'm submitting to this. Craven, submitting to you is what I desire to do. It pleases me to do so, so I will do it. As long as it's in line with what I desire. That's how I see it now, if that makes sense. Not how I saw it before. If I am, yeah, that's how I see it now. That's how I can word it.
Yeah, I love it.
It's definitely not how it was when every time I saw that word, I'm like, oh, like about to give up my right again. You know, it's not what I want. Whether I enjoy it or not, I have to do it. But
that's people pleasing.
yeah,
Right.
that's my answer to that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Selena, take number 2.
Oh, I get to go again? Oh,
Yes.
This is the one I just talked about that started the conversation.
Okay, well, give me a little that based on what we've talked about. Give me your thoughts or feelings about number 2 based on our conversation.
So my thoughts or feelings. What have I not shared? I think there is a fine line that I need to always define or keep in mind between people pleasing versus true submission. I do feel that it is an authentic expression and an authentic way of relating, but there does need to be boundaries in order to avoid being taken for granted or taken advantage of. I'm not sure. I don't know that I have any more about that question right now.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Fire, do number 3.
Okay, so let's see here. What are your what are your boundaries and limits when it comes to submission? How do you communicate these with your partner or potential partners? I said over time, I have painstakingly learned that although I'm a free spirit and give of myself willingly, that aspect of myself needs to have limitations and set boundaries. I've learned that even though I am a submissive, that does not grant everyone access to my submission.
Love
Yes.
it.
Oh,
Love it. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. David, number 4.
See. All right. How do I balance my desire for submission with the other needs and responsibilities? I answered this one in 2 ways. Since I'm not as submissive myself, I answered it how I help my submissives balance their needs and responsibilities, and then how I balance my needs and responsibilities in the spaces that I do submit. Generally in my spiritual practice. So I make sure my submissive has a plan for how we will be together now, and a safety net for if things go south, right? To make sure that that there's a plan in place for them, that their thinking isn't only in the realm of how to take care of me and how to build that connection, right? To give them bumpers for the bowling lane, and and then you know, and that can the risks for that, depending on what level of submission she's giving me, you know, goes as far as like financial support, community support, housing plans, psychological resources, those kinds of things. And then in my own spiritual practice, it's something, you know, like it's a place that I go, that I abide by rules, and that I make myself available to the practice and the teachings of the practice, sometimes against my own comfort, right? Because that's how you progress in spiritual practice. But that I don't, I'm careful to watch for zealous thinking, right? Thinking that's like, I got to do the thing no matter the cost. It's like people pleasing, but there's no person, right?
So love it.
That was my answer for that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Selena, go down to number 5.
Okay.
No, I'm not asking you to do it. I just said scroll to number 5.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm gonna take this one. So how does your understanding of submission impact other areas of your life, such as your career and relationships with friends and family? So I'm going to answer this one. So I like to look at myself as yin and yang. So there's a part of me that has a desire to surrender, and there's a part of me that has a desire to lead. So what surrender has helped me better understand is it's okay for my family to be able to say no. It's okay for my family to be able to separate. It's okay for my family to not agree with my choices. I surrender control of having to convince them that they should be around me, or that they should talk to me, or they should want to engage with me. They need to protect themselves and be in situations that they feel comfortable in. I never want them to be coerced or forced into engaging with me or any other person that they don't agree with their choices or their way of being in the world. And so for me, that's how I surrender with regards to my relationships to both friends and family. You know, I'm quite sure I know my grandmother, before she passed, didn't agree with it. I know my aunts don't agree with it. I know on both sides of the family. And so they've chosen to create distance from me based on my lifestyle, and that's okay. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you're okay. Right? I surrender control of that relationship. And in the event that they want to re-engage, that's okay too. That's how I do number 5. Right? Let's go to number 6.
There is no number 6.
Oh, we got it. Great. Let's go to No and Yo. Okay, or does anybody have any questions about anything that was said from the above?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned that without it being personal, I don't know if you can answer it without it being personal, but as a Dom, how does that show up in your relationship with your sub, with your partner that's submitting to you? So you're in charge, if that's the right word to use. You're the Dom. You want her to do something. She doesn't want to do that. How do you apply that now? So is it that you're not being satisfied now because you're giving her every right to say, I don't want to do that, and it's okay. But then where does that leave you now?
Well, for me, I feel like
if it applies to pleasure, right? Okay.
I feel like this. I keep a list of everything that everybody says they don't want to do. Right? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And it's okay. And you shouldn't have to do that. That's fine. That's great. And I have a list of things that I would look for in somebody else, because I don't want anybody to overlap. I want to make sure you don't want to do this, provide this thing. You don't want to provide that. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. That's okay. Eventually someone will show up and they'll want to do those things, right? Because the question becomes, is it that you don't want to do the thing, or you don't want me to have the thing?
Okay.
So should I be without because that person doesn't want to provide?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So
yes.
I'm saying if I need to have it and they don't want to provide it, then I just put it on the list.
And it's most definitely a situation where you need to have it or not that you just want to have it. You have to also ask yourself those questions too. Like, is that something that comes up as well? And it does not leave the sub feeling like, damn, if I don't do it, he's going to get it from someone else. So the sub has to be confident to know that it's okay that I don't want to do this.
Now, see here. Listen to what you're saying too. You're saying, does it have to be something I need, not want? But she doesn't want to do it, so I should be able to put it. If it's a want, it should be able to be factored in on my behalf, right? We're talking about wants here, right? So if I want it and she doesn't want it, I shouldn't have to go without. Now, personally, I think that differs for me for two reasons. One, because I'm poly, but two, because I have to have a minimum of 70% satisfaction in my relationship. I'm like, I got to be 70% happy. Okay. Right. And so that for me will help me stay within the framework of what we're doing. I don't deal with anybody when I'm 50% happy. You feel what I'm saying? So sometimes it's okay to say, I don't want to, like there's certain people that don't want to do breath play, or they don't want to do it to my extreme. But I'm like, you know what? I'm happy across the board pretty much. So I'll let that, I'm okay. I'm satisfied. It's still something I want to do. And so I'll write it down on a list. Right? The person say, you know what? I don't want to do anal. Okay, that's something I want to do. So, all right, I'll write down my list. Okay, I don't want to do, and eventually we get to a point where that list is pretty big. You know what I mean?
Got you.
So I'm like, if my wants contribute directly to my happiness, right? These are things that just bring me joy. But I got my other needs and my other have to's good. You know, we can talk about it. And if somebody comes in and says, I want to do all those things you don't want to do, I'm happy with that. It's like, why should we have a problem? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. It's I feel it chipping away again. I'm seeing myself. I did forget about the poly. I did forget that you were poly, but me being more of a monogamous person, I realized where I possibly ran into problems being in a situation where it was less than 50% of the needs being met and trying to force something to happen. And I never saw it that way until how you just described it. So that just opened up my eyes there too, something to consider when moving forward, whenever I do get into a relationship again, to discuss these things and to make sure that there are more things in common than not. Or, you know, if I can't meet certain needs, knowing it up front would be important than to wait later on and be like, oh, damn, now you got to get it from somewhere else where I don't know if I'm built that way. You know, I don't know.
Think about this. What you want, most people think they're monogamous, but what they really are, they're in a monogamous relationship with what they're in is a monopoly. Right? And what a monopoly does is like when you first meet somebody, you're like, yeah, you can do everything you want. I got all the time for you. You want to do it in the butt? You want to have sex all day? This, that, and the other. And the guy's like, oh, I found an oasis. This is great. Right? And then in doing that, they chase away all the other competitors. You don't need that girl. I got you. You don't need that person. I got you. You don't need those other friends. I got you. Everything's fine. Right? And then now that the playing field's clear, they go, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. Or I only want to do it when if you take out the garbage, I'll give you a head. Or you only get head on your birthday. Or you know what I mean? And now they start creating these conditions to be in because they know that they have no other choices. That's a monogamous relationship. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is a person saying, just because I say I don't want to do it doesn't mean that they can't have it. Because you know what I mean? So it's like if you really care for the person, you really want them to have, you really want them to have their needs, you're gonna say, shit, well, I see that you want it. We may have to see what's the best way for you to get it. right? Because then if not, we're creating a monopoly. I don't want to provide it, and I don't want you to have it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yes,
Okay,
thank
so
you so much.
try not to have a monopoly. Fire.
If you don't mind me asking, I was going to ask you, what is your number? What's your answer as the D type in this situation for number 2? If you don't mind me asking, that is.
What is number 2?
Number 2 is, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, go ahead. No, I love your voice. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I mean to cut you off. I was like, I'm ready. Describe a time when you felt truly submissive. What was it about this experience that made you feel this way?
I was a kept man for a long time. Well, in my early 20s, like I'm talking about real early 20s, I was a kept man. And so when things were good, I was like, man, I'll make sure the house is clean. I'll make sure this is right. I'll make sure everything is good. I was very happy being a domestic. You know what I'm saying? Like I get up where I want, go wherever I want. I had a nice car, I had nice clothes, I had everything. And I'm like, shit, I love this. And it pleased me to please her because she kept pleasing me. But after 6 months, my friends of not seeing my friends, I didn't realize she was keeping me away from my friends. After a year, I realized that all my opportunities had squandered. After this, I had been out of the job market for so long, my resume didn't look good anymore. After, you know what I mean? And then once I started being hooked, I kind of had to be hooked on her because I have a lot of other options. And then I started getting resentful, begrudging, and it's like I don't like this anymore, and I had to pull myself away, and it was hard because I was hooked on it. You know, it was like a drug. So I was true in the very beginning. I was very submissive. You know, as vanilla as it could be, right? But I didn't like the way I was being treated. I didn't like how I was being isolated. I didn't like how my life was changing in the direction it was going, and she didn't care at all. She was just like, when I come home, it started being when I come home, you gotta be here. When you take my car, I need to know where you are. Call and check in. And it was like, ooh, like I don't like that. You infringing on my freedom. Everything that I liked about this situation started going, and then the sex started dropping off, and other things started cropping up, and I'm like, nah, I can't do it. Thoughts or feelings?
I did that to someone.
Talk to me about that.
I did. I had a best friend that was 12 years younger than me. And he looked up to me. I was there for him. And when things went bad in his relationship, I was there for him. He came to me for advice. I helped him out financially. And then at one point he said, listen, you don't want to date anyone. You're divorced. I'm broken out of my relationship. I'll give you everything you need sexually. And I'm like, all right, cool. Because I wasn't dating. I wanted to. I love sex. So he gave it to me. He did whatever I asked him to. And it turned into almost a 15-year relationship. And we never had a title, but he, I even offered for him to be with other people, but it had to be when I said, and I had to pick the people. He started to feel like I was taking away his freedom. He started to, I'm going to use the word for lack of a better word, rebel. He started to withdraw. He stopped giving me what I asked for as much as I asked for. He said I was draining the life out of him sexually. And even though I was open to him having sex with someone else, he wouldn't do it on my terms. And so then I called it cheating. He did it on his terms. And he said it made him feel like he had a choice. So I wasn't angry that he slept with someone else. I was angry that I was not in control of who it was. And there's a voyeur in me. I wanted to be there. I didn't want to participate, but I wanted to be there. So I'm listening to you. And then, again, here we go. I'm like, whoa. I did
Right.
that to him.
Mm.
Later, when everything cut off, I ended up leaving. I did go back as I was doing shadow work and seeing myself. I apologized to him for not really acknowledging or understanding what I did to him, how I took away his freedom and how I made him feel. And so we made peace. We're actually friends, no longer intimate. The offer's there, but I said no, I had to really cut it off. But I still sometimes he misses answering to me. Sometimes he'll still call me like I'm doing this or I'm doing that or I'm on my way to work. I'm like, we're not together anymore. And he's like, damn,
Right.
like it's so in him to do it that we broke up 2 years, but he'll still call me and let me know he's going to work. He has women in his life, but he always feel like there's a part of him that still has to answer to me, even though I don't ask him to. And so what you described, and he was 23, I was 35, I was somewhere around that way. And so I did experience that. Doesn't feel good knowing that I did that at all. I would be mindful to not do something like that again, but that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My dynamic was an age gap too. I was a younger person. She was an older woman. Yeah. So, yeah, it's very, 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 very similar. Fire, thoughts or feelings?
Um, yeah, it's a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings around that because I did not realize that I can't hang out with friends without it going through the ringer. And I just remembered that while I was there in California with you all, it was still, even though that everybody knew where I was and how long I was going to be there, it was still traumatic, to say the least. And even now, it's like if I go hang out with anybody, not just men or if it's a man or a woman, it's, well, I feel like you don't talk to me and you exclude me from X, Y, and Z. And so then this bubble gets smaller. And by the time I look up, I'm like, I'm shrink wrapped right now. So yeah, it's amazing how you are describing some of the things that I would have never imagined that you, of all people, would have gone through. I'm like, man, he's such a badass in so many different ways. And so like I would have lost a lot of money if I would have like, no, of course he's not gonna put up with that type of shit. Like he's just not because he'll kick your, but it's humans have a way of being human. And yeah, it's yeah.
Well, that's interesting because we're going to go into the no and yo in just a second, as opposed to yin and yang. We're going to do no and yo, which is going to talk a lot about this. But here's the thing, in a very similar way, we have like when people lose their virginity, they tend to have an attachment to the person they lost it to for a while. I think men also have a thing to gravitate towards the person that was their first sexual partner, right? Or the person that you really had sex with, and so you will put up with a little bit more. You do things that you normally wouldn't do. I think we all do that. There's somebody in your life that will run you up the wall that had you hooked in a way that you just did all the shit. It didn't make no sense. Like if you looked at you then and look at you now, you're like, I would never put up with that shit. Right? We all have that person. But if you don't examine what the core factors were, because that person was mine. She's not my kryptonite, but she is definitely someone I put up with a lot more from because she was older than me, because the type of sex she provided was what I was looking for at the time, the type of body she had, she afforded me a lifestyle. It's like I started compromising me for her. You see what I'm saying? And I was happy in the beginning when she was being responsible, but when she took it for granted, then it became something different. You feel what I'm saying? So that to me is a very important kind of caveat, that we all have that person that we sold out for, that we compromise for. It's usually sexual in nature, right? And then it becomes something else. Okay, so I'll leave you guys thinking about that while we go into the next couple pieces.
Ooh, can I ask one question? I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so are you when you realized what was taking place, and you finally shifted out of it, how did you feel afterwards?
Addicted.
Oh.
Like Clarice is saying, I'd still want to call. I'd still want to check. I'd still want to, because that person is such a pivotal point in your life, especially when it's an older woman and you have mommy issues, right? That person becomes your lifeline. She takes care of you in a way that is like almost motherly and nurturing, yet sexual in nature. And it's really weird, right? Because that's your best friend. She's your rock. She's giving you love, care, affection. She's giving you time and attention. She's giving you a house over you, clothes on your back, food in your belly, right? And there's so much of that with regards to, it's Cherise, not Clarice, right? Sorry.
I didn't even
Cherise,
pay attention.
right? So my thing was very much like hers, but also too, she was like my second sexual partner in my life, right? So and so that for me, and she was the first person to do it the way I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So I compromised because I didn't want to be without the sex. I didn't want to be without the thing. I was like, I was hooked. And so afterwards, I was like, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder where she's at. I want to create a reason to call in. I want to check. I want to see how she's doing. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that was it.
Well, thank you. Hope I didn't bring up any bad memories for you. I just
Oh no, I'm 49 years old, man. Oh, that's long gone. So yeah, that was a very long time ago. But again, thank you for the questions. Those were good. Selena, bring up the and you may read this, please.
In the mystical realm of BDSM, the concept of submission is often misunderstood. The true sub does not seek to be beaten and controlled, for they know that their purpose is to become whatever their dominant requires of them without question or hesitation. This selfless devotion is the foundation of their purpose and duty, and by fostering the growth and empowerment of their subordinates, dominants are also in turn empowered in our own lives. The Enso, a symbol of duality, resonates with the ancient concepts of yin and yang and no and yo. The sub, like the vast universe, encompasses all that can be perceived. The sub is like the void, existing in a state of constant readiness until called upon. These two opposing yet complementary forces work in perfect harmony, each containing a seed of the other. We cannot separate doingness from beingness. Each is contingent on the other. Removing the intangible qualities would limit the growth of the sub and would make training arduous and perplexing. Much like the infinite universe, the ability of a sub to grow is immeasurable and their potential is boundless. By embracing these sacred concepts of duality and selfless devotion, we can transcend beyond mere physical gratification within the practice of BDSM and cultivate deeper spiritual connections with our partners.
Okay, so let's talk about the difference between, for me, there's two different concepts. The concept of yin and yang is this idea of polarizing things, male, female, fire, water. That's great. The no and yo is more of the different states of the same being. Water as a fluid moving thing, ice as a hard, solid thing. Right? One becomes the other, yet is the same thing. In the same way, the student becomes the teacher. Does that make sense? So when we start talking about yin and yang, that's the we're talking about the relationship between two opposites, between dom and sub. But what about the relationship of you to yourself? You to yourself. How do you grow? How do you develop? You never stop being this thing, but you change from one thing to the next still. You never stop being the thing. We're always growing, always maturing, always developing. Who you were when you were 15 is not who you are right now, yet you still are the same person. No and yo is a real different thing that we're talking about. So when we're talking about in your submission, some people are like, oh, I'm a bottom. I love providing my body as my main source of service. And then one day you're like, that's not enough. I don't want him just to spank me. I want him to be with me. I want him to live with me. I want to be in relationship to him. Same person. Now we've grown a different dynamic. This is not about physical. This is about emotional. This is about psychosexual. This is about cohabitation. And now another aspect of submission has been unlocked. And then you go, okay, I want to give him my body and I want to give him my heart and I want to give him my mind, but there's another level. There's something else that I want there. Shit, I belong to this person. I never want to be without him. How do I hook myself? How do I become one with this next person? Same person, 3 different states. We often don't want to look at the states we're in. And often we can't see the states we were in unless we look backwards. And that's painful. I was his dog. I was his whore. I was his thing. I didn't like how that feels. And I don't like to think about it. I was the person who was mistreated. I was the one who got kicked. I was the one who got drugged. And now I want to become something else. But I know that there's a part of me that's still that. Still that. Still feeling that. Still in that. And that is still dictating some of my actions and some of my behaviors by I'm changing. No and yo is the understanding the fluidity between the states of being that we go through and how they can be totally opposite from one another. So I'm going to pause and just open this up to the group and see what you guys think about this. I love
Well,
YC5.
I guess
Go ahead, Selena.
well, I had 2 thoughts. Again, another synchronistic moment when I was driving over to you today. I was listening to this podcast that's become a staple for me on Thursdays. She's a witchy type of person, but she was talking about doing past life readings, and she was saying that looking at where you've been will help you navigate any of the changes that you want to make and where you go moving forward. So you just essentially said the same thing in a different frame. My other thought was in the discussion of no and yo, also looking at the different archetypes that may manifest, may take center stage throughout the different phases of our life. Because like you said, we are changing. We look at who we've been and we maybe want to make a change. So we can manifest, I want to step into my mother archetype. I've been the whore, I want to step into mother. Or the opposite. I've been a very mothering archetype throughout my youth. And now I want to just go buck wild and be a whore, whatever it may be. But I just had that thought.
Thank you for that. When we talk about no and yo, the symbol is the moon, because we look up at the moon and we like, oh, it's a full moon, and we look up at the moon, oh, it's a half moon, oh, it's a quarter moon, same moon, but we treat it very differently and we feel very differently about the same moon in a different phase.
I love that.
Right? So it's all, so you could go, yeah, that's the moon too. If you had a baby looking up at the moon, it's like, that can't be the same moon as that crescent moon, can't be the same moon that was up there full. You say, yeah, maybe it's the same moon. It doesn't look the same. Right? We say the same thing about me. If you'd have caught me in my 20s, you'd be like, Orpheus, where you go? Oh man, I gotta get home before my girl do, because I want to make sure that we there. I could be there when she get home. What? That's Orpheus? What? It's not this. That's not the Orpheus I know. You know what I mean? Same Orpheus though.
Different
Same
phase.
Orpheus, different phase. Right? But the thing that we don't want to admit is that there was something that we liked about it. Even though we view it negatively now, there was something you liked about it. You wouldn't have been there so long. There was something that you enjoyed about it. There's something that you was getting from it. No one is stuck someplace getting absolutely nothing from it. We would leave if there was a complete deprivation of pleasure. So we have to admit that that person treated me like shit, and yet I stayed. And there was something I still liked about it. There was something I was still invested in. There was something that was still worth fighting for all that time, even though I knew back then that I could be treated better by somebody else. Same you, different phase. You see what I'm saying? And that phase can come back because life is cyclical. It's really easy for somebody else, different time, different space, different look, different conversation, to bring that same energy. And we know that energy. We're familiar with that energy. We can slip right back into that behavior because it was us, and there was something that we liked about it. So we have to understand that that wasn't something we did. It's part of who we are. Never forget that that's a part of who we are. And we have to make conscious choices between going back to that place, being that person again with someone else, or continuing to grow and develop in this way that we've laid out for ourselves. Thoughts or feelings about this, Selena?
Well, when I'm done, I saw Fire making some faces, so I'm curious. No, like she was saying things, not making faces like nah. But so I feel like a key phrase in that, or a concept in what you just said, your phrasing alluded to there was a reason why I engaged in that behavior, why I allowed myself to be treated like shit, because I was deriving some sense of pleasure from that. The difference is, I heard you say or make the distinction that at that time I was aware of it and I'm still choosing to be treated like shit, versus years later, like, oh, that person treated me like shit, and now let me explore why, and all the surrounding components to it. So I feel like it's two different things, where you're in it, you're being treated like shit and you're aware of it, versus it happening without you being fully present to what's going on.
No difference. Think of it like this. If I blindfold you, took you to a museum and put you in front of the Mona Lisa, and you're that close, and you open your eyes and I say, what is this? You're like, I don't know. I need to get a little distance. I know it's something, and I know I'm having feelings about it, and there's colors and there's emotions, and I feel a process going. It's all feeling. The further I get, the more I can think and extrapolate about, oh, I know what this is. I recognize this form, shape, texture, and I recognize what this is. Right? Sometimes when we're in it, we're too close to it. And we can't recognize it for what it is. But we know it ain't right.
Okay. I agree with that. I think I misheard it the first time around.
Right. But here's the thing. You're still there because there is a pleasure about it. That's the part that we don't want to go through. We don't want to admit that we like it. Right? There's something. I'm telling you, I mean, if that woman wasn't fucking me every which way from Sunday on a regular basis, I wouldn't have stayed there. I'd have been like, shit, I'll get on the streets and grind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll make it happen. But I wasn't trying to be without the booty. I wasn't trying to be without the thing. Plus, I liked all my stuff. So there was pleasure there, right? We are pain avoidant, and we gravitate towards pleasure. So there's no reason why we stay someplace with absolutely no pleasure. There's something there that we haven't gotten, that we're still getting out of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, Fire, thoughts or feelings? Yeah, girl.
I got a
Let me see
story.
your eyes real quick, by the way.
I'm sorry, say again.
Let me see your eyes real quick. Okay.
Killer.
Just checking on you.
It's bright in here. That's all. I had them on
Okay.
earlier.
All right, well, you know, I'm gonna check. I know if you need me to advocate on your behalf or something, or if I need to jump on a plane and come and get you or something.
See, listen, and that's why. Never mind. That's why I don't. I can't say that in this class. Never mind. Okay, so all right. So I have different feelings about that because sometimes you might not be receiving pleasure. It might be for something else. Like, for example, if you have a kid together and you're staying because you love your child and you don't want to be separated from your child, and because you've never had a stable, healthy relationship. So you've seen what it looks like for others, but your expectations are that, oh yeah, things will just get better. They promise that things will get better, and they said that they love me, so I can just wait a little longer, and then a little longer turns into a year, and then 5 years, and then 10 years, and then 12 years, and it's like when you wake up, and it's like, okay, let's look back at everything. What all has changed, if anything? And then you have to make the hard decision of what is the only thing that is holding me here? Whether it be like, oh, I'm still in this dynamic because I love the other person that's in this dynamic with me, or because you have kids together, or because you have a house together. It's not that I don't, because I don't want to say this wrong. It's not that I disagree with you. I just
want you to know we're saying the same thing.
okay, because I'm like, okay, all right then.
Look, just check this out. Let's say because I was a single parent, right? I have sole custody of my daughter for a long time. So I can tell you this. I would have stayed with her mother a lot longer because I wanted my daughter to be happy. I derived a sense of pleasure from watching my daughter be happy with her mother.
Okay.
I like her being in her room. I like her, it makes me feel good when we all sit at dinner together and do the thing and everything's going right. And I'm like, well, just because I'm unhappy doesn't mean they have to be unhappy, because I'm not always unhappy.
Right.
Right. And then watch this. The more someone treats you badly, the more it feels good when they treat you right.
That's gross. That is gross. Like,
but it's true, right? It's like
it
if
is.
a person treats you like crap every day for a month, but he give you one, I love you, and give you that big hug. It's like, fuck, man, he loves me. This feels so good because because I'm deprived of fucking love.
Yes. That's like
right?
when you starve a kid or a dog for so long and then you give them a steak once. They're like, you really love me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how ungrateful I've been this whole time. But then you look back and and then it's this ridiculous cycle. And then you feel like you're going absolutely insane. Like, what's going on here? You said that you love me. It's awful. So
see, deprivation is an easy way to manipulate people into doing what you want. Emotional deprivation, conversational deprivation, sexual deprivation. It's the easiest way to get someone to do what you want. It is a manipulation tactic. That's why they starve prisoners. Because whoever brings you that food, you're going to be like, you're my best friend. Oh my God, you thought about me. You didn't forget about me. I'm not just wasting away. Oh, this was extra special. This was with love. We're going to make all kinds of assumptions about the behavior because they gave us a little bit. But a little bit is a lot when you have nothing. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, we're not acting. You like it. You still like it. I don't care what we say. We're still getting that dopamine hit. We're still getting that adrenaline. We're still putting all those hormones into it. And then we start thinking, well, it would feel worse to be without it. Could you imagine? I don't know if I'll ever get anybody else. So I'll stay a little bit longer because maybe things will change.
Yep.
Right? It might be worse on the other side as well. I'm not willing to be out there by myself alone because at least I get this bone once a month. You see what I'm saying? So again, we have to look at the manipulation tactics that are being used to keep us there. And I'm gonna just be honest with you because I'm a guy, and maybe my POC, person of color explanation may not fit for everybody, but I know as being a man my entire life, to keep a woman dickmatized is the best thing that you can do, and then starve her. Give them just enough to keep them coming back to you, and make it mind blowing. And she'll sell her soul for everything just to have that one fix, because the fix is enhanced by the deprivation, by the hunger. I've watched my dad do it. I've watched my uncles do it. I've watched my cousins do it. I've watched my friends do it. I've done it. And it fucking works. Is it right? No. Should it be done? No. Every guy's done it. Okay? But if you don't want to find yourself back in there, know why you sold your soul. That dude had fucking monster dick. Sex was good. Ate you like Pac-Man. Whatever it was, be honest about it. Because guess what? There's going to be someone else to hit you with the same thing later on. And you better know that the game is how the game's being played, or you're going to get played. You'll find yourself back in that same situation, doing that same thing with a different man doing the same damn thing. I'll pause. Thoughts or feelings? Yes. Anybody? Thoughts,
Well,
feelings?
David had something.
David, throw it out there.
Well, I'll speak to what we just said. You know, as I'm going to be your counterpoint. I've never done that, and I have trouble keeping people around. Right? Which is like, like I've gone the other direction. I flood people with all this attention because I want to feed people in that way. I like that, and I like showing up as that kind of hero. And I'm currently in a process where I'm like, yeah, nobody fucking appreciates what I give them. Like, so it's kind of like this. I don't entirely know what to make of that in some ways. But I recognize there's a distinct truth to it. And like growing up as the guy that was often the listening ear for the girl who was miserable, I can say with firmness is like, look, like to me, that pleasure you're talking about, that's like, there's a pleasure in it. 9 times out of 10, the pleasure it's all in like this deep unconscious story that's going on that if we aren't aware of, it's going to control us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's like, I usually describe it as like, you want that bad boy who just doesn't give you the fucking time of day, because that guy reenacts the story of your first rejection, your first loss, your first whatever. And you want to fix it this time. And the pleasure is that maybe this time you'll win. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's a trap because it never happens.
No. I think you're right in many ways. Eddie, again, it's so common, it's a joke. Even Eddie Murphy in Delirious say, the pussy trap is to make you wait so long and until you're starving, and then she give you a little bit, and you'd be like, that's the best I ever had. But it's not. It's because you were starved. Like if you starving and somebody eat you a Ritz cracker, you like, that's the best damn cracker I ever had. Was that Ritz cracker? Oh man, I need another one of those. Can you know what I mean? It's starving. Right. But these people are aloof and they're specialized in avoidance.
Yeah.
They specialize in, I'll give you the bomb, and then I'll be, hey, you know what? I can't see you. I can't hang out. I can't do these things. And you're like, fuck, you're giving me drugs, but now you're making me chase you.
Yep. No, that was my first like 3 crushes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's it. And and guys go through the same thing too. I can't say I haven't been hooked on some, because I've been sprung, I've been whipped. And I didn't care too. Dudes be like, damn, you whipped on. Yep. Yes, I am. Yes.
Right.
I'm going there now. I'm either coming from there or going to there. Like a crack addict, distraction. I'm like, damn, I ain't seen her in a few days. I gotta go back. Sharice, thoughts or feelings? Make sure you put your speaker on, your mic on.
I have lots of thoughts. It's just which one do I start with? But what's going through my mind right now is when you talk about that manipulation and having a person into a position of being starved so that they can have their way. In the relationships that I've had, I've always been the one with a higher sex drive. And so in order for me to kind of bow, that was what was used, withholding. And so I see how that, I wouldn't say I was stigmatized. I just wanted it all the time. That was like it was power for me. It was like, if I had a headache, I need it. If I had to study, I need it. And so it was like, wow, I got something that's going to make her bow. And so that was one of the things that, so I don't know if that falls under the category as being stigmatized, like, but I could see how manipulation worked. Pardon me?
That falls in the category of nymph archetype.
Right. I learned about that some time ago, but so I guess it happens to women too. But that's one of the things that I have a question. Might not have anything to do with it. You have a test that a person can take that comes on your site that talks about archetype. Was that specific for men, or is it anyone, male or female?
Men or people who identify as male.
Okay. When I did it, even though I did it twice to make sure, it came up as Daddy Dom. And so I did that after classes just to see like where I fall into place. And it came up as Daddy Dom. And so I'm sorry, that had nothing to do with the question you asked me, but a lot of thoughts was going through my head while I was listening to you speak. But yeah, that's it. That's the only thing that's
Look, it definitely does, because your leadership style, I mean, your way of being in relationship to other people that you just described, when you're in charge, you are the head of household. Right? You dealt with a younger person and you told them where to go, what to do, how to be, right? You're being a daddy. Right? I mean, it's just when you step into the masculine, it's just what the incarnation looks like more from you than any other way in the masculine, when you step into the traditionally masculine role.
Gotcha.
Right? But more than likely, you adopted the shadow of the masculine archetype from what you're telling, from the shadow of the father, the part that's really hard to say, the parts that we're not really proud of. You know what I mean?
Got you.
It's okay. That's okay. Okay. Fire. Thoughts or feelings about what we're talking about?
Well, okay, well, pass, I guess.
You pass? You can pass. It's okay. But you
I'm sorry.
You got a lot to say, though.
Nope, I'm good. I'm good for now. Yep, I'm good for now. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
Can I say something, Orpheus?
Yeah,
This
sure.
is like totally not. Are you familiar with if I pronounce it wrong, forgive me, synesthesia? Synesthesia? I have better control over it. And I was having a hard time focusing because that purple color that you have on was distracting me. And I was like trying to calm down, and my mouth was like I couldn't. And so when he pulled his shirt over the purple, I said, okay. And then he moved it again, and so colors, I have these tastes in my mouth, and it's just like my throat was going crazy, and I'm trying to focus, and I'm not. So when you sat down on the floor, I was like, yes, now I can think, and now my question is over, and now and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I was really struggling with the color, and I it me as an artist also, it inspired colors inspire me. It gives me it's a funny taste that I get from different colors, and I don't know if you ever saw the glands when the water when it spreads out. I don't know if you ever split. It does that, my glands, and so I'm sitting here like, and my mouth is constantly going, and he pulled the shirt over. I don't know if he did it intentionally, but I was just like, oh my God. So I'm glad that thank you for sitting on the floor. It covered in that beautiful lavender color was just so beautiful. I was just like, wow, that's such a pretty lavender. I got to paint with that. And and I'm trying to focus.
Wait,
And
what is synesthesia?
it's like you could taste the colors.
Mm.
So, I
where
get
your
like
sense
that.
works backwards.
What was
Like
that?
go ahead. I was gonna say synesthesia is where your senses operate, they're wired differently. So touch may come across as sound, or a sound may come across as a smell. Smell may have a feeling, right? And so the most common synesthesia is to see colors and taste, or to taste colors. Also, numbers with synesthesia can also have numbers that float in the air. They're actually outside. You view them as being out here, which is another synesthetic thing, that numbers exist outside of your head.
Sounds interesting. I feel so not cool to not have that.
It's just not fun. It's really, it can be a little distracting, and then you can't even really express it, but it does. Like you get this throbbing feeling, and I can taste it, and I can't compare it to a food, but it's sweet. It's really, and it's different. It comes at different times, and I'll see someone's hair, or just different colors, and it excites me. It's like, whoa, like
I think that's
you want to
amazing.
eat it.
I think that's a superpower. I think that can give a lot of information that if it feels distracting, maybe you just haven't mapped it out for yourself yet, and what it means and how to work with it. But that sounds, my little witchy senses are like, oh.
I usually keep it quiet, but because I'm around, people that I feel like that can relate with me, and I can be myself, it's like, oh my gosh, I was just really excited when you sat on the floor just now. Thank you.
I think it's a bad thing.
Like my mouth was going crazy the whole time. Like, damn, like relax. And I'm breathing, and I usually can work through it, but it does, like, it's weird.
I have okay. So quick questions before we move back into the no and yo. Selena, what's your favorite two colors?
Black and purple.
Fire, what's your favorite two colors?
Purple and indigo.
Charisse, what's your favorite two colors?
Red and green.
Okay, David, what's your favorite two colors?
Purple and orange.
Okay, so one of the things that I find is that, and I think this is scientifically backed, is that purple is actually the color for people who are submissive in relationships. It is the main color. Most subs will say purple. And not submissive like bottom, like wanting to be spanked and all that, but specifically people who are submissive in relationship. Red and black tend to be the person who is most likely to be in the bedroom, like a tiger in the bedroom, and black usually means dominant in their relationships. Actually, it means outgoing and like self-starter, self-motivated, going to be a person that doesn't need anybody, loner kind of thing. So just to give you,
what are your two favorite colors, Orpheus?
my favorite two colors are black and white. I don't know why they're black and white and black, and
Well,
then gold.
That's very interesting because if we're talking about polarities and no and yo, and black and white are the polarities. What are we doing? What is this?
I was just saying the gold in the room. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Oh, speaking of which, before I forget, the next time I see you, I will have a specific something that you asked me about previously because it's finally been melted down.
I'm gonna have to take this thing down to my dick. I'm gonna be working coffee tables and all kinds of shit. Like, bam! I'm gonna feel like a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like 50 Cent.
I just like how cryptic that sounded, and then it's been melted down. Like, what is it? A body? What are you doing, Fire? Because we know you're a CIA operative. What are you out there doing?
I know she's in the FBI right now. She's in the FBI break room. All right, Selena, bring it back to the no and yo questions.
All right, question number 1. In the context of BDSM, it is said that all desire has a dark and a light side, much like the phases of the moon. Which role do you find more comfortable, that of a dominant or a submissive? And what makes it easier for you to inhabit that role?
Okay, so I'm going to just throw this out there real quick because we don't have a lot of time, but I want to just kind of give you some examples of what we mean. Like, I inhabit the dominant role, one, because it's easiest. It's just easier for me to be in this space than to be submissive. I rather die by my own word than live by someone else's. I just am a control freak, and not confronting my control issues is just a lot better. You know what I mean? It's just a thing. I just don't want to work with it. I have no desire to work with my control issues.
That's
right?
so honest.
Right? Being avoidant is a real thing, you know, and as a Buddhist is my thing. But in this society, I just feel most comfortable being in charge. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. I want you to know what you are as well as why you're not. Let one contrast the other. Again, in the same way that we understand the dark side of the moon by the light side of the moon, be able to talk about both aspects. Go to number 2.
Within the BDSM practice, it is often said that both dominance and submission require a certain amount of strength and vulnerability. Which role do you find harder to embody, and why do you think that is?
I hate letting go, and I don't want somebody else to be a reason why I fail. If I fail, I can deal with it. If you fail me, I'll hate you for fucking ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have a no forgiveness policy when somebody does it. So if somebody's going to be in charge, I'm like, you have to understand that you are required for my health, wealth, and well-being. If I don't have fun, it's your fucking fault. We used to do that. Remember me and Selena be like, I'm going to the dungeon. I'm like, are you telling me or are you asking me? You know what I mean? If you're telling me, then you're in charge. You're taking that. You want to take the leadership role, you do it. But if I'm not having fun, I'm going to be looking at your ass like,
Oh my God. And once he said that, well, you're in charge of what happens, it was the most uncomfortable feeling in the world. I was like, I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. I take it back. Nope, no taking it back. God damn it. I'm sick. I'm calling it with the flu. I'm not going.
I was dead at the time.
right. But you know what? But I can also say this too. The male role models in my life failed me horribly. So, you know, even whether it's getting picked up on time from school or being able to, or missing birthday parties or something like that, I hate to be dependent on another person for my emotional well-being. So I fucking hate it. So that's why it's easier for me to be a dominant and show up for other people in the way that I would have want other people to show up for me. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on the other side. Scroll.
Oh,
That
those
was
are the
it.
only ones. So this is also our last meeting. It just dawned on me earlier today. This is our
This is
fourth
number
one.
4?
This is number 4.
Oh, we have one more parable.
So I hear we have one more Saturday.
Scroll real quick. Let me see the rest of this.
Okay, so building a house. The
There's the
finding
blade of grass too.
blade of grass. Oh, it's my favorite. That one makes me cry all the time. Okay,
I'm okay coming back.
that's it.
Me
He's
too.
up.
Don't be skimping. Listen, don't be skimping on my meat and my salad. So, I'm just saying.
Well, remember,
right.
I cannot do next Saturday because I will be at my grandmother's funeral in Michigan.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll add on one more Saturday, and it'll be when you come back. How's that?
Yay.
All right. So let's do that. And when we come back, we're going to go straight into the material. We're going to hit these last 2 ones, and it'll be dogging it. So please go through and read them by yourself. Go through and do all the work by yourself. And then that way, when we go through it together, it's just kind of a review, and we can really get into the meat and potatoes of that. Do we have a okay with everybody? Just put your hand up just so I can see everybody real quick. Okay, good. So I absolutely love this. You guys are like friggin' crazy amazing. And I really love how we're doing. Now, of course, we have an Enso 101, there's a 201 workbook, there's a 301 workbook, and there's a 401 workbook. So if you guys want to go through all of it, that's cool. We can keep going through and doing that, but we're going to definitely add a day to this 101 just because I want to make sure we hit all the content. Okay. So let's just kind of, we got like 15, a little less than 15 minutes. Let's just try and talk a little bit, and just open up and just see how we feel about some stuff. And if there's any questions we want to throw out or any thoughts or feelings that are coming up for us. Yes.
Okay, sorry. All right. So I did want to talk about number 2 for me.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. I don't know if you know this movie. It's called Waxworks. It came out in 1988. I was 6 or 7, depending on what time of year it was. But it's cheesy, but I love it. So there's a bunch of different scenes in the Waxworks. One's about a zombie, mummies, werewolves, and vampires. And then there was one that was about Marquis de Sade. And I was like, who? And so so when I first saw Marquis de Sade, I was like, what's happening to me? What's going on here? I was like, tell me more about this situation. But then the main character made the girl feel like she was gross because he looked at her like she was gross because she liked this thing. And so that was the first time I actually was like, oh, this is something that's interesting to me. And then of course I've told Orpheus about this, and when I was hooked or knew that I wanted this thing, which was Exit to Eden, I was like, oh my God. The movie was spectacularly cheesy, and I absolutely ate it up, the entire thing. I was like, bro, where can I go to get there? That would be, my tribe, my people. And then I find them in California, which is across the doggone planet. So, yeah.
Okay. So was there a question or just a thought in there?
Oh, just a thought, because I was like, yeah, that's what did it for me. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. By the way, I know the guy who owned the real island that Exit to Eden is based on. I used to work in his dungeon.
That's a real place?
It was supposed to be a real place. So
I nominate you.
Right? Betty Page and Irving Claw used to do where the Betty Page, of course, you guys know, but Irving Claw was the photographer, and my friend was the person who helped them. And eventually, he opened up a dungeon called the Chateau. And the chateau is what they talk about in a lot of the movies about going to exit to eat. You know, they'll reference the chateau. And so Irving Claw, Betty Page, and I forgot his name. The guy who owned the chateau put this thing called Pleasure Island or Eden. And so the marketing thing was Exit to Eden. And then someone wrote a book about it, which was a friend of his, and it was designed to be marketing material. And then it became that movie.
Wow.
It's a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts.
I also saw somebody's nipple get ripped off at that place. So yeah.
I wasn't
Oh.
using that.
I mean, the nipple came off. So yeah.
But it was not the intention. I think you've told me the story, right?
It wasn't the intention, but it's definitely what happened.
At that point, does it really matter?
Exactly. Intention versus impact. You know, but yeah, most people. I would say this: like, if you're really looking for material to read, understand that Marquis de Sade is kind of like the golden age. I'm sorry, the bronze age of BDSM. And it's not for what he did, it was for who he was and what he wrote about later. It's not because he was a sadist, it's not because he enjoyed it, but because he wrote hit pieces that were slanderous and horrible, and we get the idea of sadism from what he wrote, not who he was. Does that make sense? Okay. Then you go to von Sacher-Masoch. So Leopold von Sacher-Masoch is where we get the term masochism from. Right? He wrote a book called Venus and Furs. Not only do we get the idea that people can derive a sense of pleasure from receiving pain or watching others receive pain, but the male submissive comes into the story. Before it was all female submissives, not male submissives. He wrote about the first male submissive himself, right? So that's the Silver Age. Then you get to Paulina Rengay, who wrote the story of O, right? And now you're at the golden age of BDSM, right? And then you wind up with this thing with the first female submissive who willingly goes through the process of slave training and ownership. And then she becomes a switch. And this is the first time we see a switch entered into it, right? Then you go into the platinum age of BDSM, which is Vivienne Westwood. Vivienne Westwood is a clothing designer, and she created the aesthetic for what we now call BDSM. So when you see the collars, the suspension belts with all the rings, the mini skirts, the all the stuff that we think, the rubber, the latex, all that stuff was all Vivienne Westwood, and it came out of the punk scene. So when you start looking at these things, I tell people, if you really want to do this, look at the history of it. Read 180 Days of Sodom, 120 Days of Sodom,
120 days.
120 Days of Sodom, or Justine, or one of those books. Read the story of O. Read Venus and Furs. You know, or look at any of the Vivienne Westwood documentaries, so you can have a better idea of where it comes from, and you get the ideas of where we kind of come from. It's really important that if you really want to be good at this, I'm not talking about like you want to be more than a passing fad. Look it up, right? There's going to be some stuff you go, that's gross, that is nasty, and there's some stuff that you go, that's hot as shit. I didn't know people could do that.
This is why I rewatch all of the videos. Like I would watch this like 30 times a day if I could. I'm telling you, it's just delicious in my brain. That's why I was like, hey, Selena, did you drop that YouTube yet for me?
Sorry.
But get it together, woman.
You know, I think it's really good for especially women. So my mentor's mentor, Felix Montez, he was an amazing artist. Felix Montez was a Puerto Rican guy, and he helped found the Eugenspiegel Society. So the Eugen Spiegel Society came from a group called the Society of the Rose, and the Society of the Rose sprung up from the Hellfire Club. Okay, so members of the Hellfire Club were Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and so that is the oldest BDSM club in the United States. And by club, I mean like secret society. Society of the Rose is the group that people talk about in Exit to Eden. They talk about it in Paulina Ringay's Story of O. It was a real group, right? The Eugen Spiegel Society is the only one. It's called TESS, and it's in New Jersey right now. It's the only one still around, and it's not even close to what it used to be. But anyway, he used to be a part of that. And so as part of their entry thing for female people who want to be submissive, they had to read 120 Days of Sodom and then list all the things that they didn't want to do based on the book. Right? Because it's like, if you don't know everything is out there, you can't say yes. And if you don't know everything that's out there, you can't say no. Right? And so that was a hand manual to be like, that book has it all. It has all of it. I mean, from snot play to scat and all that stuff was in that book. If you can't, but somebody might go, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." I'm down with that. Can I find somebody who wants to do that? So really, but these women were very dedicated and would sit down and read the entire book, because you had to have your what you want to do and what you don't want to do on deck. So these are great reference books for you to have a better idea of what is out there. Thoughts or feelings or emotions or ideas? Yes.
I just have a side journey, because it's very important to know the terminology, because when I first started exploring BDSM, I got onto, I don't remember if it was Collar Space or FetLife, but one of them, and they have all these listings of activities, and I saw water sports, and I'm like jet skiing and boating? Like, I like that. Fortunately, something said, don't check that, because it seems out of place for this context. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's stuff.
If you are in the Tantra community, you have to not get confused about what breath play is. It's like, we're not breathing and meditating together.
Yeah. So I did that too. I went on an adventure date with a very prominent sex coach, very fucking prominent. And I was like, "Do you want to do any breath play?" She's like, "Yeah, I love breath play." And I was like, "Ah!" And she was out, and then she woke up. And she was like, "I thought we were just gonna breathe together."
But did she like it and want it again?
I know, right?
But she told that story while I was there 3 times to an audience. And she was like, I'm not going to say the practitioner's name, but this happened. And I was sitting there like, "Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's why I say, what does that mean?" You know? And I did again, and I did it again. She said, "You do know the stories about you, right?" And I was like, "Oh, shit."
That'll learn you.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
I didn't know that it was the two of you.
So I really want everybody to join, to really get into this and see what it's about, but really have a better understanding, come from an informed place. It's too easy just to get started, but it's too easy to get hurt. You know, especially if you play with like one of my mentors, they are serious about it. I'm talking about serious about it. They are into some serious shit. You fuck around with one of them, you're going to go for a ride if you know what you're talking about. I mean, I've had conversations about them. They're like, so we're sitting at a Cheesecake Factory with Felix, and he goes, "You know, and that's the important thing of using, what is it? What do you call the types of water? There's like spring water, and then there's that one where they clean it. What's that called?
Distilled
water. He was like, distilled water versus clarified water. And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He said, "So I'm making this massive ice dildo, and you have to use distilled water because when it freezes, it doesn't have bubbles in it. right? And then so when you penetrate, you don't.
Didn't know this.
What?
I did.
I thought it was a stick. Like
Oh,
you know,
you did.
right? Exactly.
Huh.
Fire.
She's like, no bubbles. She knew exactly what was going on.
Talk to us about something.
Listen. Let me tell you something right quick. Okay, so my orchids. Okay, so yeah, I'm blaming it on them. My orchids, I use distilled water for them because they're finicky and they're princesses. So I know a lot about distilled water. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go
Sure.
with. Ta-da!
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was. Fire.
Right.
Yeah. Fire.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. How about that?
Think that you know, but when you start getting into technical parts like that, like even with electric play, like I used to use tens units with me in the sub, and I would put one of the tens units on her, the other one on me, and then when we had sex, right? The connection was made through our genitalia. Now, see, you think this is great. It is for a second, right? But what happens is, you know, it's like a muscle stimulator makes your muscles bigger. It's going to lock your muscle out into a big thing, or it's going to make it throb. So for me, it made her contract and me expand. So now we're stuck. Trying to get loose was fun, but after a while, it just hurts.
Right.
So I thought we were gonna be hooked like that forever, you know. And I'm trying to find the other end of the controller, and I'm like turning buttons and turning knobs, and my dick's going on. Right? It's like when your car breaks down, this guy stop, go, take a check.
Oh my God.
Oh,
My stomach.
Yeah.
I did not know that part. You had not told me that one. That's brilliant.
He enjoyed it.
Know
Oh
your
my
equipment,
God,
Orpheus.
yeah.
Know where the off switch is.
Yeah, the first time using it, we had no idea because I didn't. The guy was like, "You want me to show you how to use this?" I was like, "It's like 2 knobs. I got it." I was trying to show off. Got it. We're good.
I go my ears. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, like, if it feel good on 1, if we start off at 10, it's gonna be great.
Oh Jesus.
Oh my
Wow.
Ah, nuts.
Oh my God.
10 units, you know about the 10 units?
She probably does. Yeah. That's
I'm
amazing.
sure I'm not the only person who has had a sex mistake, a funny sex mistake.
You know, I've made a lot.
Come on, give us a story. Give us a quick one. Give us a quick one about something funny that happened with the sex.
Well, I mean, so let me pick one. I've always I wanted to feel something in both holes at the same time, and kind of lost one in the back. And I kept pushing and pushing. Other things started to happen except for that thing coming out, and it went really not so good. It did not feel good at all. But I learned later to use a bigger object in the anus.
Flared bases.
Yeah, definitely. I'll keep it at that one. But I've had some not so good experiences. But I survived it. It did come out eventually. But it wouldn't turn off. It was like one that it would not. I kept peeing because it was my.
That was a great way to tell the story. Is like to finish that with it wouldn't turn off, right? Like we didn't know it vibrated before.
It's like a little silver bullet. It just would not. I was just like, I didn't know what was going. I thought I was going to have
the silver bullet.
Yeah, I wanted to feel the vibration, but one that I did have to go to the emergency room. I don't know if you remember Tussie, the Tussie deodorant. So anyway, I was going through one of those, my ex-husband didn't want to have sex. So I was looking for I got rid of all my toys. He was a minister. I had to get rid of all my toys. So I wanted to get off. So I used a deodorant bottle and it had the twist top. So I put it in there and I'm there gripping on it and doing my thing. And when I pulled it out, the top was still inside and I kept trying to grip it, but it was
Kept
sliding,
rolling.
going further. So we did have to go, and he was so embarrassed because he's a pastor and a minister. And so we did go there, and they were able to get the tussie. And that's when I learned that my canal kind of had this dip. So it kind of like curved in, and I kept trying to pull it. I was pushing, breathing. It went in. So we went to the ER, and we got the cap out, the top. I kept trying to put the deodorant back because it was one of the roll-ons and trying to twist it, but it just kept spinning and I couldn't get it out. So,
man.
yeah.
God bless.
I feel
Precious
that one. I
I
can just
So we divorced.
always try to imagine what it looks like when a woman goes in there and tries to get sometimes you can have the condom can stay up in there and she got to reach up. To me, it feels like when I got hair in the back of my throat, I got to.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Precious moments. Oh, story time.
Fire. Do you have a funny one?
Oh no. Go to David. David was here first. Like, yeah, knock yourself out with David.
We all shy because David's in the room now. Is this a
Oh my
gosh. Participation?
Listen, okay.
My phone cut out.
Oh, so rude.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if this is funny. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly, but okay. So I just within the past couple of years, I just found out that I had sex with somebody and I didn't remember it. Well, what happened was, okay, story time. Okay, so we were at, huh? No, it wasn't. He wasn't that small. It's the fact that okay, so I was in subspace apparently, and apparently I get sexually aggressive, and so he said I attacked him, but sweetly, I guess. He said that I crawled across the bed. He said I didn't even look like myself. He said you looked like a completely different person. Like you crawled over to me, unzipped my pants, pulled my pants down, started going to town with your face. And then I was like, you're a liar. That never happened. I don't know you. He's like, yeah, well, you have. So yeah, that was the most embarrassing. And I found this out while he took me out to dinner at Olive Garden. And he was like, I was like, yeah, we've never had sex before. And he's like, what are you talking about? We've had sex before. I'm like, in theory, in discussion, what do we? It's like, no, this never. He's like, yeah, let me tell you what happened. And my face turned beet red. It was ridiculous. I felt so embarrassed. I was like, huh?
Are you saying you sleep rape? Some people
call it that. Oh my God.
Some people sleepwalk.
I did.
Sleep rape.
Okay, so oh God. Okay, so years ago, I wrote this story on FET, and I do sleepwalk, and I had sex with somebody while I was sleepwalking, and did not know that until I woke up the next morning and I had to go to the restroom. I was like, why am I peeing like this? It's so weird. And so he's like, do you remember yesterday? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I said, did I say anything? He's like, no, you didn't say anything. I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to call anybody, I've had like 5 exes, and I'm like, I don't want to call any of them and ask if I've done this to them, because then that means I'm a serial offender. So I'm like, well, I was told you can't rape the willing, but still, that's not the point. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, Fire, I want to say that, you did sleep rape me, so.
Are you serious?
Orpheus, stop
No,
it.
Are you serious?
No,
Me too.
he's not
Right.
serious.
What is wrong with you? Oh my God. I was like,
Just bring
yeah, I
it to
can never talk to him
apologize.
again ever.
See,
So
I
don't get back
wanted
him
to say
again.
it. I wanted to say that joking, but I was like, no, because she's gonna think that it's true. You're messing with her. Orpheus, that's terrible. David's terrible.
You're not serious, are you? You're not serious, are you? Please.
Orpheus.
Oh, you guys are awful.
David.
Y'all are awful.
Fire.
This is
No,
awful.
no.
Like,
Well, I was gonna say I was around him the whole time, but I wasn't at the hotel. So
you guys are mean.
I think Indigo would have said something. How's that?
Did my
Okay.
freeze face work? When I looked, did I look frozen when I was sitting there?
Yes, you did.
Yes, that was a good one.
I feel for you, Fire. It's okay.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I can't speak to David because
It didn't happen. No, it didn't happen. Thank you. Thank you. But I did have
It
this
was-
dream. So I'm not sure
It
if
was
you
the
asked
driving across the
you
country
know.
first that impressed me, right?
what'd you
Oh
say,
my
David?
God.
I said it was the sleep driving across the country first that impressed me about it, right?
All right,
The
David.
worst.
David, give us one. Give us one, man. You got any funny ones?
Man, like I keep thinking, I was like, there's plenty of times that I've laughed during sex, but I can't think of like a funny story. But when people are telling stories, I'm so involved with the story, I can't like remember stuff like while I'm doing that. Maybe I'll send one later if I think of one.
Yeah,
No
that'd be
problem.
awesome.
No problem. Selena, give me one.
Well, you know the one I'm gonna tell because Teresa reminded me of it. So
Go for it.
Orpheus and I were at the dungeon. No one else was there. We had the space to ourselves, and I'm like kind of like a doggy style position, and we're using a metal anal plug, and it was my brilliant idea to use coconut oil instead of lube, right? So he's doing his thing. We got the anal thing. We probably had a Hitachi, like all sorts of great sensations. And then I had my orgasm, and we're slowing down. He says, "So we have an issue," and I'm thinking, "Oh no, did Indigo call? Is there something wrong? Like, is she okay?" And he says, "You have sucked up the butt plug." Like, okay, I'll be right back. So I go into the bathroom and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get it out. I sit down to use the bathroom, and then I hear this plonk. Came out, it was metal. So it hit the toilet bowl, and I
A
yelled
piece
out,
of construction equipment fell and hit the floor. I was like, are we remodeling in there?
"Oh no, he was standing out there," and I just yelled
I was
out,
like, the piece was like this big. I was like, this is like, I'm like, how did you get? Wow.
Oh,
Oh my
gosh.
God.
and he told me, he's like, "I was standing out there." He's like, "I didn't know if we are going to have to go to the emergency room. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen." So I relate. Don't use coconut oil. It's not what it's intended for.
Sensational.
Sensational.
So I got one more. I got one more. So I was with my daughter's mother. We were teens, so I was about 16 or something like that. And I was about 16 going on 17. And she was about 15 going on 16. And so we were at my mom's house and we're going to have sex. And I had, for some reason, a box spring and then 2 mattresses because I like to sleep up high. And so I'm like, she's on her back. She's pregnant. You know what I mean? She's pregnant and everything kind of feels different. And I'm like, this is great. And I'm like, we're having sex. It's getting really good to me. And I kind of slip. And I'm like, but I keep going. And I'm looking at her and she's looking me in the face like, I'm like,
I know what
I must have
happened.
hit the wrong hole, but I'm like, hey, I'm there now. I'm gonna just keep going. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, I feel big.
Like magic trick.
I mean, my knees gave out and everything. I was weak. It was one of the hardest things. And then what I noticed was that she was sitting up in front of me. I'm like, why are you sitting? She's like, you came between the mattress, fool.
God. Yay! Winner! Winner!
That tops it
Woo!
all.
That's right. Win. Take a
Oh,
bow. That was amazing. Good job.
That's
oh
fantastic.
Bravo.
Thank
Oh
you.
no. Oh.
You and the mattress are still together, right?
We said we keep in touch. You know, we're still.
Oh.
I have a little. I may have a few little mattresses running around there in the world. You know, Sealy and Simmons. Posturepedic.
Oh, my stomach hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so that's where the mattress purple came from. Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. Purple.
Okay.
So I've told you all the embarrassing stuff about me.
Oh,
I've been terrible.
Oh my God.
I can't wait to see you guys soon. And you guys, I'm gonna just go use the bathroom. You guys enjoy yourself or stay as long as you need. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Later.
See you guys.
Oh,
silly.
I'm glad we
God, that
more
was
sessions.
insane.
I gotta go eat. I'm super hungry.
All right. Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.